Aloha and welcome to Talkin Trash. I'm Max Richardson.
And I'm Allison Fraley.
And today we have not one, not even two, but 5 special guests. Let's meet the first one now. A Kauai County Councilmember and avid environmentalist. Please welcome Fern Holland. Fern, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we have a great show lined up today. We're going to talk about the recent ban on Styrofoam boogie boards, as well as one of the most damaging invasive species in recent history, the Coconut Rhinoceros Beetle. We'll also have a quick landfill update and a few questions from the mailbag, and a brand new segment we call If Can, Can. Let's check it out.
The following program is a production of Hōʻike Kauai Community Media.
Before we get started, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Hōʻike on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Stay informed, stay inspired, and stay up to date on all things Kauai. Okay, Allison, the people are dying to know what's new with the landfill.
Well, there isn't much news since the last update that I gave, except I just wanted to remind everyone, since it's a new year, that the landfill will reach capacity in October of 2030. So it's time for everybody to take action and reduce as much waste as possible, recycle, reuse, and not in that order, reduce, reuse, recycle actually, but yeah, we don't have that much time left in the landfill.
Yeah, 4 years is not as much time as it sounds like, and it doesn't sound like that much time to begin with.
No.
Okay, now Fern, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's get to know you a little bit. You've been passionate about the environment since long before becoming a member of our government. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I've studied environmental science in school at Griffith University in Australia. And yeah, I've been a very passionate environmental scientist actually most of my life, since I can remember as even a child. I really cared about the environment and keeping, our waters clean and our environment healthy.
Wow. So you went to school in Australia? Oh, that's right, because part of your family's from Australia, right?
That's right. I'm a dual citizen, actually.
Okay. Oh, super cool. Super cool. Okay. So did you work in environmental science? Was that your profession before you became a county council member?
It was. It's one of the things I've been doing since I graduated with my degree. I graduated with a bachelor's of science with majors in marine biology, wildlife management, and environmental sciences, which is like environmental chem. And I worked professionally for a global consulting firm called GHD for a few years before moving home to Hawaii in 2012.
Cool, very cool. So some credentials.
Yeah, and I've been doing smaller work since coming home, but really gave up that larger career to come home and be on Kauai.
Awesome. Well, we're glad that you came back to us. So I feel a little bit intimidated by the intellectual weight on that side of the table. So yeah, definitely you guys have some credentials to be talking about the two kind of not necessarily heavy but dense topics that we've got to talk about today. Well, Fern, we're really glad that we have you here on the show today because we are going to talk about 2 really big environmental issues on this episode. So let's just jump right into the first one. Now, because this is such a hot button issue, I wanted to get on some big time guests to really get some buzz going. So Allison and I pulled some strings and we were able to get them on board. Folks, please welcome to the show John, Paul, George, and Ringo, the Beetles. Ba-ba-da-da. These are coconut rhinoceros beetles. If you live on Kauai, you've probably heard of them. They're an extremely invasive species and their main food sources are precious coconut palm trees. Fern, tell us about these guys. Why don't we like them?
Oh, these are some horrible pests, Max. These are very large, some of the largest of the beetle family. And they really do like to eat our coconut trees. They also like our native Prochardia palms. They actually will eat quite a few different varieties of palms. They also eat bananas, challah, and they target monocots. So these are alive.
Yes, yes,
yikes.
These are alive.
So these are major issue. This is a major issue because these beetles could decimate our coconut trees and what we are so well known for in paradise. coconut trees. Not to mention the huge agricultural and cultural, huge role that these coconut trees play in our lives. So it's a big risk that could really change the future of Kauai, our agriculture, and our way of life, which is really upsetting.
I don't think it's come up on this show, but I like to call it Hagrid syndrome. I find every animal adorable and cuddly. And I usually every animal, yeah. I catch centipedes with tongs in my house and I take them outside. And let them
flies.
A door, I mean, they're too small to really be able to adore, but I think they're neat. I don't like when there's an infestation. But so that being said, I'm almost never one to advocate for the killing of an animal. Ironically, no, I'm not vegetarian. Somebody else kills those animals, that's fine. But these guys, I say that to say these guys, we got to get rid of them.
I mean, they are incredible beetles.
Yeah, I've been checking them out since I picked them up from the county. They're really neat. But this is Talkin Trash, not talking bugs. So Allison, tell me, what do these rhino beetles have to do with trash? Why are we covering them today?
Well, because they breed in compost piles, also in green waste piles, rotting wood, and actually compost is or green waste I should say, is one of the biggest diversion efforts that we have on Kauai. So the first coconut beetle that I know of was actually found at the Lihue transfer station in the compost there. Ooh, yes.
Bummer.
Yeah. So
it's almost kind of with regards to these guys, it's almost kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing, right? Because it's like, well, we want to have compost piles. That's important. That's vital.
Yeah. And so there's things you can do as a homeowner, though, to stop or to reduce the spread of these beetles. You could not let static piles sit in your yard. If you do have a pile, you can cover it to reduce the likelihood that they would come and breed inside the pile. You can make it hot, which means like having a real compost pile that's what compost is it's heating and it's decaying. And so if it's between 130 and 160 degrees, then it's not gonna have these guys breeding in there. So those are things you can do, and move your green waste, to our green waste transfer station.
Yeah, that is my personal solution for my green waste at home, is I just don't keep it around for very long. When I finish mowing the lawn, if the transfer station's open, boom, I take it then and there, and if it's not, I take it the next day. So, and I think that's probably the simplest way, but for those that have more land or that want to use their compost or et cetera, those infamous Darth Vader bins, part of the reason those are black is because the blackness absorbs sunlight and it does keep the pile hot, right? Keeping it closed and keeping it in the sun.
It does help it. It encloses it, which is good. So you're talking about the Earth Machine home composting bins. We give those away for free at the county. All you need to do is call our office at 241-4841 and make an appointment to pick up a bin. And those are good because they're enclosed and they keep critters out. And so these are pretty big pests that it would be hard for them to get in there, so that's the good thing. It doesn't heat it to 130 to 160 degrees, so it wouldn't be considered a hot pile, but it's definitely better than just having an open pile sitting there.
Okay. And then other than the Earth Machine home composting bin, the Darth Vader bin, when you say you can cover them, can I cover a pile with like a tarp?
Heavily not.
Oh, okay.
Because they actually eat through the plastic. Oh, so okay. What we've learned is that you have to use Talkin netting. And so what we found even in the bags of compost from like Home Depot and Ace is that the beetles fly in and they chew through the plastic layer and lay their eggs inside of them. Oh, great. And so now we're watching people open up bags of compost around the island that have been infested at some point, either on Oahu before being shipped here, or at Home Depot sitting out in the open, because these are nocturnal beetles, so they're awake at night, so nobody would see them flying around and landing. But even very small holes have been identified as potential possibilities for that. And so while covering it might reduce the attractant, because it would like kind of hold back some of the smell, they find their way into it. I've caught 6 in my net trap in my front yard with Tekken netting, and it's very specific. It has to be, I think, between 1 and 1.5 inch hole pukas, which is actually illegal for fishing. And so it's kind of difficult to get because you're not allowed to have it near the ocean. But that's one of the things that we've realized is that they're pretty crafty and they can eat through. Even the other day when we did our steam trial on the golf course, they were actually chewing through the leather gloves of some of the people that were dealing with the live beetles, because we're learning on how we kill them. And so we know that they can chew through very tough things. They have some incredible clampers, and the larvae are, as thick as my thumb and just big critters.
Yeah. Wow. And they don't bite people though with those.
They will bite you.
Really?
Like, the larvae can bite you.
Oh, the larva can.
The larva.
Yeah, I mean, these guys probably can too. I don't hang out close enough to really find out how bad they bite.
Yeah, but
they completely
I guess
gross me out.
It makes sense if they can bore into the trunk of a tree.
Yeah.
They probably get through a plastic tarp.
Yes, they have mandibles.
You mentioned the smell though. So is that how they're guided to these piles?
Between the pheromone attractant that other beetles create.
Okay.
And they do love moist, specific conditions, but they're super generalists too. And so what I've realized is that they'll actually breed like in the absence of a mulch pile. Like at first we were really telling people, get rid of your mulch, maintain your mulch. And I still think that's really important. But the reality is that they'll lay anywhere. We found them in much more desolate. We found them more recently in flower pots in the front yard. Stuff like that, which is really what's led me to this idea of pushing for these bait station traps, is that, Kauai is also the garden island. So we're also the green waste island. We're basically the green waste island. So containing and eradicating mulch piles is almost impossible, because at that point, we're only gonna push them into unmanaged areas and areas where we can't treat them, we can't find them, or we're not gonna be finding them. And so by creating mulch piles that we want them to breed in, and then making sure that we're checking them, because then they can become accidental nightmares if we're not checking them. We want to, keep on top of checking them. But if we are creating, specific attractant bait station like traps, we could then either burn, or what we're doing right now is steaming some of these piles and sterilizing them on rotation every 4 months. So because the larvae has such a long life as larvae, we have 5 to 7 months before they'll pupate into adults. Okay. If we stay every 4 months, we cut that cycle off before they get to the point where they pupate and turn into adult beetles. And really that's why I've been leaning that way, because I'm realizing that they'll actually lay way more widespread than we think, and can chew through more than we realized.
Yeah, well, that's awful, but it's good to know. Forewarned is forearmed, right? So it's good to know that, and we can respond to that. But boy, it sucks that that's the case.
They're incredibly durable beetles. They're they're little tanks.
Which I think is
they're hard to kill.
Part of what it takes to make a species as virulent as this one. They're not just a pain in the butt, they're a pain in the butt that also is, very durable and very adaptable, and they like palm trees, but they can eat lots of different kinds of trees.
Yeah. Can you tell us the other stuff that they eat?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, our native Prochardias are actually a preferred species of theirs. And so even as much as coconuts, some people say even more than coconut trees, they love to eat our native Prochardias. And one of the main things that the Department of Agriculture has suggested as a treatment is really like these injections that you can't give to our native Prochardias because they'll die. They can't handle the drill hole anyway. So it's simply not an option. So they're proposing like basically no options to save the Prochardia, which is horrible. You can net, but for a lot of these isolated places where we still have these pockets of, endemic palms, it's nearly impossible to get there to protect them, But, again, even with the Coconut Rhinoceros Beetle name is a little misleading because it sounds like they just eat coconut trees. They'll eat most palms. They love royal palms. I've even seen some areca palms on my block getting nailed right now. They'll also eat banana, hala, and basically anything with a crown, which is, a lot of things. We've even found them in kalo on Oahu in the absence of all of these things in more desolate areas, and drilling into the top of pineapples.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, they're not all that picky.
Voracious pest.
So do they like bananas more than coconuts?
No, it seems to go in order of like palms, and then banana and challah are like short second. And then if they can't, I've heard of everything from cacao pods to ulu to kalo. I mean, it's just incredible how they'll adapt to survive, I guess, with what they have around them.
So here's a question for both of you guys. What is the county already doing about these guys, and what are we maybe looking at doing in the future? And how about, is it just the county responding to this threat, or are we getting help from the state, from the federal government?
I can tell you what the county's doing now, which is just monitoring the bug activity out there. We do have traps at the transfer stations. This is for solid waste. I can only speak for solid waste, and we're trapping the beetles, and that's it for now. But Fern approached us with an idea.
Yeah, I'm excited about this bait trap idea, using this mulch as an attractant to control their population, kind of using their own biology against them. I'm just trying to think outside the box, because really a lot of the solutions that we're given aren't solutions. And so we're having a really difficult time fighting back. And I'm trying to think of ways that we could create traps where we actually attract them to breed in a specific spot and then sterilize those piles prior to them maturing. I mean, that's really the goal of these traps. And so incorporating a couple at the green waste facilities where stuff's sitting for a while could help to attract them not to breed just anywhere, but in a specific spot, and hopefully kind of pull these populations down, because it's a numbers game.
Right.
So the way it would work, it would be adjacent to the green waste pile that's active and moving all the time, but it would be sitting there and stagnant, because they like the stagnant piles and not stuff that's being turned over rapidly. So they would migrate into that stagnant pile, and that's what would be steamed.
Yeah. It's a new idea. The Department of Agriculture told me that they thought it was promising. It's the first that they've heard of anybody kind of utilizing traps in this way. And so they're excited about us kind of trying something new. But there's really not a lot of options. I mean, you can net the piles like we talked about with the Tekken netting. Yeah. It is a specific type of netting you need, because even the black bird netting, we found that they can chew through and get out of that. So you really have to use that suji fishing line nets. And so that is, one of the things you can do. I'm really excited about Mr. Lance's steam company, which has just started on Kauai. A gentleman that's invested his own funds into purchasing a really industrial steamer. And so what we're doing is, instead of having to burn, which is a little bit more problematic and a little bit more steps involved, we've got this steam machine. And so the steam would actually sterilize those piles. And so what we did on the golf course is the large pile that we've been building, we're basically doing this bait station idea of creating a giant pile and then covering it, steaming and sterilizing it every 4 months on rotation, like clockwork, in an attempt to try to pull them back out of the system and pull the population down. Okay,
cool. Yeah, I like the idea. It's a lot more attractive than spraying poisons everywhere.
And there's not really poisons we can use for mulch anyway. And so we don't, when it's going after the larval cycle, most of those chemicals are totally banned for fumigating the ground, or else you just kill everything. Right.
Which is the reason we don't want these guys, is because they're killing our plants.
Yeah.
So if we kill the plants, I mean, it's like, at what cost? So it makes sense to me. Okay, how will these measures, these new things we're going to be trying out at the greenway sites, how will these affect the public? Is it going to cost anything? Is it going to affect the average individual in any way?
No, we're gonna, again, put it adjacent and cone it off so people know not to put their stuff there. And then the cost is nominal, the steaming.
Okay. I think the greenway sites at the transfer stations are a smart place to do this experiment, because they're constantly monitored anyway and constantly maintained anyway. Okay, so I'm in my yard, working. How can I tell if my place is infested with CRBs? How do I spot a CRB? And how do I tell that it is in fact a coconut rhinoceros beetle and not some other kind of beetle or grub?
Well, they're hard to see because they're active at night, so you don't see the beetle itself. Normally, I'd say 99% of the time, people don't identify that they have them until the palms have grown out with these weird cuttings and these triangular and V-cut messed up leaves. And so once the leaves come out and they're cut, they almost look like they've been origamied, and that's because they've been chewed up inside the tree before the palm comes out and opens. It's eaten inside the tree because they're really eating the crown of the coconut tree, right? And so usually by that time, you may have had beetles for months in your tree. And so it's really, really difficult to know at that point how bad the infestation is and then be able to deal with it because they've already drilled in and embedded themselves into the coconut trees.
Yeah, okay. So the damage is easy to spot, but the beetles are hard. Fern, you might know this one. What should I do if I do see CRBs or CRB damage in my yard? Is there someone I should let know about that?
It's very difficult. There is a state number that you can report it to. Apparently that is now working. We've actually had a very difficult time, I think because of the transition in leadership within the Department of Agriculture and the renaming of the Department of Agriculture to Agriculture and Biosecurity. It's been very difficult to get the kind of state response that I think we've been really hoping for. But there is a number that you can leave the information. There is a innovation grant that went out that's helping map these beetles. So that's going to give us a better idea of how far the infestation is spread. But there's not really like a number to contact for that. I mean, really everybody is responsible for kind of taking on the task themselves, which is really hard and stinks because there's not a lot of direction. There's a lot of opinions about the different types of things that you can do to try to save a tree that's infested with the live beetles. But there's a lot of emotions and feelings around that conversation that have made it difficult to really dive into. But with the mulch, it's really clear, like we got to catch these larvae. And so either like rotate your mulch and keep an eye on it, net it, burn it.
That's kind of illegal.
It is illegal.
Yeah.
You need a burn permit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can apply for a burn permit. I've assisted a few families in doing that.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
criteria. Some sites are just too big to steam or do anything but burn.
Yeah.
But you definitely need government support for that.
Yeah, you
And
can't just go set
You need a
fires.
permit with the state DOH. Yeah. Steam it, do whatever you got to do, and reach out for support wherever you need to try to do something. And I'm trying 3 different things in my front yard right now. There's some evidence that basil oil is a great natural deterrent. I'm using that on one of my trees. I have 3 different net trap systems set up where I'm trying to see if those will catch the live beetles. You can also net your palms. So it really depends on a few things like your capacity, your financial capacity, how tall the trees are, whether you can climb a tree yourself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that weigh in on that. So
I know we have an invasive species commission, right?
committee.
Committee. Okay. Yeah, that's KISC, right? The Kauai Invasive Species Committee. Do they have a number I can call, or?
I mean, unfortunately, this population has exceeded the ability to eradicate, which means that KISC really is starting to step back from Coconut Rhinoceros Beetle. They are a first response organization that is designed to try to save us from establishment of these species. But once it reaches in the bell curve in the population growth to a point where it cannot be pulled back out of the system, it's kind of above them. They're just a small organization.
I'm sure someone out there is wondering why should I care about this? Like why do I care if beetles are messing up trees or whatever? So this is for both of you. What do you say to that?
Everybody should care because it's going to drastically change Hawaii. Coconuts are a very important part of Hawaiian culture. They're also a very important part of our economy. They're also a very important part of many of our lives and food production. I mean, I personally eat off 3 of my trees regularly. I think that the threat is bigger than we can imagine. If you try to imagine the Royal Coconut Coast on the east side of Kauai, which has some of the most ancient, beautiful groves probably throughout the islands, gone, it's really losing our identity. So for Native Hawaiians, it's losing cultural practice and identity and food production for all of us. And then if you ask the tourism industry what the value of a coconut tree is, you'll get a wide range of very, very expensive numbers, especially for these fully mature trees. So even if you don't care about the environment, you don't care about culture, and you only care about money, there's still a huge loss that our community will be facing because of these beetles.
That's
Good answer.
Thanks.
We've got another big environmental topic to talk about today, but this one is actually a big win. Less doom and gloom. Let's talk about styrofoam boogie boards. Fern, tell us about it.
Thanks, Max. So yeah, I mean, I have a lot of projects that I've been working on since getting elected, and this was the least resistance, easiest measure that I've worked on. And so it's already a bill, and it's already, been signed by our mayor. I believe I had one meeting with Allison about this, and we kind of cranked it out from there. There was zero opposition testimony to this. So this bill is really banning those single-use, I'm calling disposable boogie boards or body boards that are sold at generally at like ABC and such. And they're often used once and thrown away. I had 3 separate constituents bring up to me that this was an issue. One of them being a lifeguard, one of them being a fireman, and one of them a marine advocate. And they all separately brought up the problem of these bodyboards being either polluting the environment. We actually had Surfrider bring in examples of these hard chunks that they become on the beach of that almost look like fake coral. It's like this weird, like hardening things that they become on the beach, and the amount of times that they're cleaning them off of our sand and our beaches. And then we had, the parks team is constantly throwing away these, body boards into the trash. So for me, this was a really straightforward, easy measure. It addresses many of the things I've committed to, environmental stewardship, waste reduction, responsible tourism. All of these things kind of intersect with this bill, which was a very straightforward and simple bill to stop these Styrofoam boogie boards from being sold on Kauai.
Well, that sounds pretty straightforward. Allison, you have any thoughts on the Styrofoam boogie board situation?
Well, the Solid Waste Division is tasked with enforcing the law. And so, my big enforcement activity was in 2010 when we passed the shopping bag reduction law. So that bill affected every retailer, right? Because they were not allowed to distribute plastic shopping bags. And we were able to get it done, get the message out, work with the retailers, fine-tune the laws to make sure that everyone was in compliance. Well, this one, there's very few retailers that are selling this product, and we have a year for them to be in compliance. So we're going to send a letter out and work with the retailers, make sure they're carrying the right product. Maybe there'll be more rentals of good boards, and those disposable boards are not a good boogie board ride, right? And so if people want to experience the ocean and ride these boards, they should be riding a good board.
They're definitely not safe. We've had a lot of people bring up that, and the lifeguards notice that sometimes they go out with a sense of confidence they shouldn't have on those boards, and then they fall apart in the first wave and they're kind of stuck out there. So they're actually dangerous as well.
Yeah, because it's basically just a big chunk of styrofoam, right?
It is. And it's just got this like netted, almost like sandbag-like material on the outside.
Oh yeah.
So
Sounds really comfortable to ride on.
It's kind of stitched together. It's not really like, it's got no hard frame or anything.
Yeah. Let's say I own one of these styrofoam boards. Once this law goes into effect, assuming that it hasn't fallen apart by a year from now,
I think the chances
am I
are
still
low.
allowed to use it? Are they illegal to own and use, or just illegal to sell?
Just to sell.
Okay. So lifeguard's not gonna write me a ticket if they see me riding one.
Not going to get arrested for riding a Styrofoam boogie board.
Good. All right. Not that I would want to. Here at Talkin Trash, we know that sorting your recycling can feel like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. You want to do the right thing, but where do you even start?
Maybe you're already recycling, but you want to expand what you're recycling, and you're not sure what you should commingle and put together.
And that's why we're kicking off a brand new segment called If Can, Can. Get it? Like can,
I did it.
Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Sandy, and this is how I recycle and compost in my home. When I chop things up, I always have a bowl right next to me. I don't do any of those fancy cylinders, all with charcoal and all that. I use just a bowl from my cabinet. And then I rinse everything. So I'm going to take this over to the sink, rinse it out. I'll go ahead and throw, in this bag I have my plastics. And again, I've rinsed everything. And then over here, I have all my paper. And here's my mail, and I will grab it. I'll go through it, I sort it. There's a Christmas card, there's some junk mail, and then I just throw it all in there. It's perfect, it's easy. And then after everything is full, I will grab my bags, and then I walk out here. Because sometimes I get to it once a week or so, and I'll just go ahead and stack it up over here. which is a nice dry place. And then all my extra leftover cardboard, I stick over here as well. I'll break it down, get it nice and flat. And then when I'm ready to do a Costco run for gas or groceries, I will head over that direction. And right behind Costco, next to Target, is all the bins. They're well labeled. You pull up, plenty of parking, and you just toss everything in the right bins. It's super easy. And then for composting, I'll grab this bowl, and I'll grab anything that's organic. No cheese, no meats, anything like that. But even this little guy can go in there since he fell off on my gingerbread house from Christmas. And out here is the compost pile. It smells like it, so I just toss them. And then I toss them there. And a good healthy compost pile will not smell. So throw in your weeds, throw in anything organic, just no cheese, no meats, that sort of thing, because that can make things smell. And then I rinse my bowl, keep things clean, keep fruit flies from getting into your banana peels, and I just let that drip dry. And next time I'm chopping something up, I'll flip it over and refill it. And that's how I recycle, and I hope you guys do too.
So we just want to thank Sandy for inviting us into our home.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. And last but not least, we've got our mailbag. These are questions that have been sent to us since last episode. If you want to send in your own question for us to answer on the air, you can call the Solid Waste Division at 808-241-4841, or send me an email at mrichardson@hoike.org. Okay, I got one from Patricia in Kapa'a. It says, the bulbs in my bug zapper have burned out. They're about 24 inches long, tubular, and say BL fluorescent lamp on them. I'm assuming the BL means black light. Can these be recycled?
Yeah, we do take fluorescent lights at the Kaua Resource Center. That's in Lahui in front of the transfer station. And they're open during our regular business hours. So Monday through Friday from 7:45 to 4:30, just walk inside the main building and we accept all kinds of fluorescent tubes.
So any fluorescent light bulbs you have, bring them on down to Kaua Resource Center. All right, now this is our first, it's only our second mailbag, and we've already got our first question from a celebrity. It says, where can I recycle round cookie tins? And this question is from the Cookie Monster.
Oh, I love the Cookie Monster. Well, I'm glad you asked because that's something we have hanging around after the holidays, right? So you can take those to the Kaua Recycles drop bins all throughout Kauai, and we have the metals recycling there. So we also take things like tin foil, not just like soup cans and aluminum cans. So those can be put there because they're rather small. They can also be taken to our scrap metal sites. And right now we have Hanalei and Hanapepe active where you can put any kind of scrap metal.
Okay. And Puhi Metals, right?
Yes, of course, Puhi Metals. That's where everything goes, by
When
the
in
way.
doubt,
yeah, Puhi
if you got metal
Metals.
stuff, when in doubt, Puhi Metals.
Thanks, Matt.
Well, that's our show. Be sure to tune in next time and we'll talk more trash. Fern, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's been great, guys.
And Allison, it's great to see you as always.
Good to see you too, Max.
And we'll see you guys next time. Until then,
Stay trashy.
aloha. Aloha and welcome to Talkin Trash. Oh, we're gonna do that again.